Stellar Blade is one of the most highly anticipated game releases of 2024, but of course there are a few people who are still so upset over this game's existence because it happens to feature attractive feminine female characters and attractive masculine male characters, and now there are more articles releasing saying how Stellar Blade became 2024's most controversial game. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, surprisingly, a lot of journalists have actually been praising Stellar Blade because I think they see the majority of people are very excited for it and are positively, praising it, and they are afraid of being basically left in the dust. They are desperate for clicks, they are desperate for relevancy, and I do think that's why a lot of them, like the Kotakus and the Polygons, have actually supported, Stellar Blade, because a lot of gamers are, but of course there are still a few outlets who have flip-flopped like The Gamer, and of course now DenOfGeek saying it's an extremely controversial game, which is ridiculous. It says developer Shift Up Stellar Blade, formerly known as Project Eve, isn't scheduled to be released until April 26th, but the PS5 exclusive is quickly shaping up to be one of the year's most divisive games. I personally have seen very few people on social media complain about this title. Yes, there are always going to be individuals who simply do not like the game, and instead of moving on, they decide to complain about it, or even try to get the developers to change their title, or, cancel this project altogether, but most people are positively receiving it. It says this rather odd story gained momentum a couple of weeks ago when the devs released a gameplay overview during a State of Play event. Wow, it's so odd that they finally released a release date and they finally showed off a lot of gameplay. It's so odd it gained momentum. I mean, do these people not know how the gaming industry works? People do not want to hear about a game when it's 4 years from release, so of course when it's only 3 months from release, people are going to be hyped for it? I don't understand. Though seemingly a pretty standard trailer released during a fairly uneventful presentation, the reactions to that video made it clear that quite a few people quickly became infatuated with the lead character's highly sexualized designs. The, person writing this article might not like this game, and that's fine if you do not like a title, but you can instantly tell where they're going with this. Unless it's your first day on the internet, you're probably not going to be surprised to hear that gamers are leaving enthusiastic comments about a highly sexualized female character. Oh no, we can't have highly sexualized fictional female characters anymore. I am so sick of people complaining about this, because if you do not like her design, that's perfectly fine. No one is forcing you to play the game, but sexy does sell. It has always sold. It will always sell. Some of the best games feature sexualized female characters, and we don't just love those games because of the female characters. We love them because of gameplay, because of the story, because of the lore, like Bayonetta. Yes, Bayonetta is an extremely attractive woman, but the story within the 3 games is fantastic, and the gameplay is awesome. We also have Lollipop Chainsaw, which of course is getting the remake slash remaster. It's kind of in the middle with Repop, and while yes, it does feature Juliet, who is an extremely attractive character, people loved the atmosphere of the game, the songs, the gameplay, the rhythm. It was just such an amazing title, but instead they're just looking at these games, and of course at Stellar Blade, as a highly sexualized title. It talks about how the Shift Up and Stellar Blade director stated via translation that the team put special attention into the design of the back of the game's playable character Eve, and he said the player is always facing the back of the character when they're playing, so he would like to see someone who is better looking than himself when he plays a game, and I completely agree with that. While yes, in some games you are going to see average looking individuals, we are talking about a world that they have created in which, yes, the characters are extremely attractive, and I do not think that the developers should be shunned for that, and I do think most people want to see unrealistically beautiful characters when they are playing titles. They said, though, that this made them uncomfortable, which is hilarious because, of course, no one is forcing them to play this game and they could simply not play it if they do not like the designs. But it says that statement gets to the heart of the situation. Simply put, some find the design of Eve and the team's attitude towards her design to be problematic or simply creepy. They do not link any sources, not a single tweet. So I think it's just them that finds it problematic and, of course, simply creepy, as they put it. I don't know how you could find an adult fictional female character, being talked about really creepy, but it says some are simply uncomfortable with that general approach to character design, while other argues that its fan service style feels regressive at a time where female character designs in major games are regularly criticized by some gamers for apparently not being sexy enough. What comes to mind instantly is the Fable design. There are, social justice warriors out there who defended it tooth and nail and said, oh, it's fine that she's not highly sexualized, even though, of course, we're talking about Fable, we're talking about a video game. If you also look at something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we had previous iterations of Harley Quinn in several different outfits, and they decided to not only change a new outfit for her, but change her facial structure and overall just make her look less attractive, because of course they do not want to appeal to what they call the male gaze, even though that's a completely ridiculous concept. And yes, people are allowed to criticize a game. If you are allowed to criticize a game simply because you think the characters look too sexy, I'm allowed to criticize the game because I don't think the characters are sexy enough. I do think that games should have options. If you have a character customization system, like many games do, you should be able to make a sexualized character. And of course, in a game like Stellar Blade, this was clearly their direction, this was clearly their vision, and we should respect that. It's fine if you don't like it and you want to criticize it, but at the end of the day, there are people that are calling for them to delay this game, to change it, and to, in some cases, even cancel it. They said those criticisms are compounded by the studio's history of highly sexualized titles with questionable microtransaction and their prior inexperience with AAA games. Yes, I will admit that they have faced some criticism over microtransactions in other games, but Stellar Blade does not feature any microtransactions. They have already proven that. They have already given us that guarantee. And while, yes, they do not have a lot of experience with AAA games, that doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot do it. That does not mean that they are instantly going to fail, because they have had several games in the past that have been extremely successful, even though they are not AAA games. This writer, this hack journalist, I hate calling them that, this activist at the end of the day, is really just trying to find every single angle to attack Stellar Blade, and they can try their very best, but this is why people do not read DenOfGeek. This is why DenOfGeek is not successful. And of course, they are coming up with this article just, of course, to get clicks, to try to bait people into reading this. But Stellar Blade really is not a very controversial title, and if you want to talk about controversial games, you could talk about something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League or Skull and Bones, but instead they just want to talk about Stellar Blade because they feel uncomfortable with the way that she is, a bit sexualized, and how they decided to make attractive characters for this game. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.